Let me tell you something. Big problems don't break strong people. They reveal them. Some of you are sitting at your desk, drowning in deadlines, buried in expectations, surrounded by obstacles. You're frustrated. You're tired. Why does everything have to be so hard? But I came to tell you today, it's hard because it's supposed to be. The size of the problem matches the size of the breakthrough on the other side. You want a promotion, but don't want the pressure. You want the respect, but don't want the responsibility. You want the win, but don't want the war. Listen, at work are not punishment. They are preparation. Preparation for the version of you that's required at the next level. You can't be average and solve high-level problems. You can't carry old thinking into new territory. Absolutely. Here's the expanded version of Be Keynote No. 1. The secret to solving big problems at work, extended to approximately 700 words in the raw, impactful tone of Eric Thomas, without any headings or closing lines. So let me tell you something. Big problems don't break strong people. They reveal them. Some of you walk into work, every accolade you're facing are some kind of punishment. You're frustrated because things aren't going your way. Your team isn't performing. The project fell behind. Your boss is on your back. The deadlines keep coming and the pressure is real. But here's what you're missing, that pressure. That's the very thing that's supposed to trying to destroy you. It's trying to develop you. It's waking something up inside you that comfort never could. You want things to be easy, but greatness never came from ease. Diamonds are made under pressure. Gold is refined in fire. Why would your purpose be any different? You keep asking why the problem exists. But maybe the better question is, who better solve it than you? See, I've learned that the people who make it to the top aren't the ones who avoid problems. They're the ones who face them head on. They don't sit around waiting else for someone to wait. They don't complain when things get heavy. They square their shoulders, lock their focus, and go to war. Because deep down, they understand something most people can figure out. The problem is the path. The issue is the invitation to level up. When you stop seeing problems as threats and start seeing them as opportunities, everything changes. You start showing up different. You stop shrinking and start stretching. You stop blaming and start building. And let me tell you this, there's no secret team that gets handed perfect situations. There's no magic moment. Everything gets easy. If you want to be valuable in your organization, if you want to rise, and then the biggest favor, you can yourself stop hoping for fewer problems and start developing more capacity. Because it's not about what happens to you. It's about how you respond. It's not about what shows up on your plate. It's about whether E or whether you're L full B. Solving big problems at work starts with ownership. And I'm not talking about titles. I'm not talking about being the CEO or the manager. I'm talking about the mindset of a leader, even if you're not in a leadership role. If you see the problem and walk past it, you've already failed the test. Because if you can see it, you can change it. And that means it's your responsibility. Ownership means you stop saying, that's my job. And you start saying, this is my moment. That's what separates the elite from the average. And when you take ownership, you unlock a new level of energy. I'm not talking about physical energy. I'm talking about a grind, a grit, a relentless mindset. You got it from checking tasks off a list to checking boxes off destiny. Because solving big problems isn't a task, a mission. It's a full-on attack. You can't treat it like an option. You've got to show up with huntering that edge, that fight, that fire that says, I refuse to be outward. Because problems will test your will. They'll test your patience. And they'll test your identity. And the only way you pass is by refusing to quit. You're not going to always have the answer, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that you're willing to find it, that you'll stay after hours, that you'll ask the hard questions, that you'll step into rooms that intimidate you, that you'll carry a load nobody asked you to carry, because you understand that, A, that's how you grow. That's how you go from being someone who clocks in and out to someone who leads movements. People solve big problems, ones who they wait to be told. They initiate. They don't just get through the day. They attack it. They see what's broken, and instead of pointing fingers, they start building solutions. And there's one more piece that separates your problem solvers from the rest, and they have vision. They don't just see what is. They see what can be. When the situation looks messy, is failing, when the results aren't showing up, they don't panic. They get focused. They don't let frustration cloud their purpose because they know if they can stay locked in, if they keep their head up and their spirit strong, they'll see what others can't. And you can see what others can't. You can do what others won't. That's why most people that solve big problems, they're too busy complaining about the present and imagine the future. But when you've got vision, you move with clarity. You lead with confidence. You don't let your noise throw you off because you know where you're headed. You're not afraid to be the first one in and the last one out. You're not afraid of failure because you know every mistake gets you closer to win. You don't need all the applause because you know that results speak louder than recognition. Absolutely. He expanded to approximately 7 words, delivered in the raw, driving voice of Eric Thomas. No heading, no ending statements, just pure fire and focus. You won't come to know the secret. The real stop running from the problem and run into it. That's the truth. Stop ducking, stop hiding, eating for the storm to pass. You got to walk straight into it. Most people thinking the issue will make it disappear, but problems don't dissolve. They grow when you ignore them. They gain power when you hesitate. And every time you look the other way, every time you say, I'll deal with it later, you're giving that problem momentum. You're feeding it. But the moment you decide to face it, that's the moment you take your power back. The challenge doesn't care about your comfort. It does you're tired, if you're stressed, if your coworkers are difficult, or your manager doesn't recognize your efforts. None of that matters to the problem. It's coming either way. So the only choice you have is this. Are you going to confront it like a warrior or let it control your life? Are you going to handle like a pro or are you going to complain like everybody else? Because hear me, you can't solve big problems with small habits. You can't fix chaos with a casual attitude. To your school, you want to be next level. You want to break through that ceiling. Then you need to get obsessed with the process. You need to wake up in the morning and look at the obstacle like it's your assignment, like it's a thing you were born to overcome. Most people freeze when the pressure comes, but pressure is just a test to see if you're ready. It's asking you, do you want it or not? Big problems are meant to stretch you, to force you to become someone greater. They're designed to develop your skill set, your character, your resilience. That situation you hate right now is shaping your leadership. That messy project, that impossible deadline, that lack of support, it's refining your mindset. It's building something in you that be taught in a course or written in a book. You can't download this on a PDF. You earn it in the fire. But you got to stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like a soldier, like someone who's been called to this. You're not just showing up to collect a paycheck. You're showing up to create impact. You're not here to survive, to shift the culture. Every great organization is built on the backs of people who didn't flinch when things got hard, and people who lean in when others backed down, people who weren't scared to take on the work that nobody wanted. And that's the real separator. That's the difference between people who move up and people who stay stuck. Who's willing to carry when it gets heavy? Solving big problems doesn't mean you have to know everything. It means you want to figure it out. You're willing to go deep, to do the research, to learn what you don't know, to ask for help without ego, to experiment and fail and try again. That's the grind most people don't want. They want microwave results. They want the raise without the responsibility. They want the respect without the resistance. But success doesn't work like that. If you want to lead, you better be ready to bleed. And understand this, every time you avoid a problem, you delay your progress. Every time you run, you repeat the cycle. But when you turn toward it, when you stare that thing in the face and say, I'm not afraid of you, that's when you become dangerous. That's when you shift from average to elite, because now you're not react to life. You're responding you're moving with intent. You're making decisions based on a mission, not on move. The moment you stop looking at your workplace like a battlefield, start seeing it like a proving ground, everything changes. Your energy changes. Your conversations change. You stop gossiping and strategizing. You start contributing. You stop saying fair and start saying, this is his fuel, the fire that's burning around you. You start using it to force something new. You stop being intimidated by problems and start being inspired by them. Most people want to avoid discomfort. But if you only operate when it's easy, you'll never access your greatness. There is no secret. The formula is right in front of you. Own the problem. Chase the pressure. Don't run. Don't wait. Don't wish for it to be easier because you're stronger. I'll get stronger. Don't hope it goes a step and make it go away. You don't need everything to change around you. You need something to shift out within you. You solve big problems by becoming bigger than the problem. Here's a keynote 3. No, expand to approximately 700 words in a high energy, no excuses tone to Eric Thomas without any headings or concluding lines. Solving big problems at work isn't about talent. It's not about titles. It's not about many degrees you've earned or how many certifications are on your LinkedIn profile. It's about something way deeper than that. It's about tenacity. It's a grit. It's about inner refusal to be defeated. You can put the smartest person in a room in charge, but they don't have heart. If they don't have fight, if they don't have a grind, that intelligence won't mean a thing when the real heat comes. Because when things fall apart, and it's not the talent that carries you, it's the toughness, the discipline, the relentless one to keep pushing when everything in you wants to pull back. There's too many people walking around the office thinking the world owes them something because they're qualified. Think just because they put in the years where the results should come automatically. But experience without execution is useless. Time served means nothing if you didn't grow. Knowledge means nothing if you won't move. You don't solve big problems by still and quoting rules. You solve big problems by getting your hands dirty, by staying late when nobody's watching, by walking into the Charles and creating structure. You got to stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting until your boss give you the green light. Stop waiting until you feel ready. Because big problems don't come with an invitation. They come unannounced and they test your identity the moment they show up. And if you freeze, if you panic, if you overthink it, you're done. You can't hesitate when the moment comes. You've got to move. You've got to act like someone who believes the solution side of them. Even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. You think high achievers wake up with all the answers. No, they just stop negotiating with fear. They stop letting doubt be louder than discipline. They made a decision that no matter how ugly the problem, no matter how unfair the situation, they're not leaving till it's fixed. That's the standard. You've got to go from wishing things were better working until they are. And not just once. Every time. Because consistency beats talent when talent doesn't show up. People love to say, that's not my responsibility. They love to stay in their lane. But the problem with lanes is that they keep you small. If you only ever do whatever be paid to do, you'll come who you were called to be. Because solving big problems means stepping beyond your comfort zone. It means leading when gave you permission. It means being the person who takes initiative when everyone else is silent. It means becoming the one who gets trusted. Not just because of what you know, but because of how you show up. You got to understand something. Most people at work don't want the burden. They want the credit, they want the title, but not the weight. But the higher you go, the heavier it gets. And that's why problem solvers are rare. Because they don't run from the weight. They will carry it. They use it to grow. They let it stretch them and don't look for applause while doing it. Because they know their value doesn't come from praise. It comes from the results they deliver when everything's on the line. You want to stand out. Solve the thing nobody wants to touch. Speak up in the meeting when the room is quiet. Volunteer for the task that looks impossible. Take responsibility before anyone else does. Stop looking for someone to save the project and be person. When something's broken and wait for a process, create one. When communication fails, step in and make it clear. When tension rises, be the calm that pulls everyone forward. That's what leaders do, whether they wear the title or not. Because at the end of the day, nobody's looking for more average. The world's full of people who want easy wins. What it needs is people who refuse to quit when it gets hard. People who can look at chores and bring order. People who don't care who gets the spotlight as long as the work gets done. People who walk into problems not with fear, but with every resolve. The energy is rare. That mindset is rare. But that's the difference maker. That's the force that shifts teams, that turns setbacks in strategy, that creates solutions where others only see stress. Here's a keynote note fully expanded to approximate words and the fierce, high voltage tone of Eric Thomas. Raw, real, and without any headings or ending lines, let me break it down. The secret is in three things: ownership, relentless energy, and vision. That's it. You want to know how to solve the biggest problems at work. You master those three, not one, not two, all three, because together they unlock a power most people will never access. Most people talk about solutions, but they don't live in the mindset that E creates sells them. They want shortcuts, but they want someone to hand them a playbook. But there's no playbook when you're dealing with real pressure, real people, real deadlines, and real consequences. That's when these three things separate the cunners from the pretenders. First, ownership. That's the foundation. Nothing happens without it. Ownership doesn't mean waiting to be told what to do. It doesn't mean checking your doormail what's a sign. Ownership means if you see a crack, you fill it. If you see confusion, you bring clarity. If something is broken and you can't fix it yourself, you still take responsibility, raise the flag, organize the effort, lead the charge. That's what ownership looks like. That's not a position. It's a posture, a mindset. It's say, if this is in front of me, then it's mine. No excuses. No finger point hiding behind systems or structure. People who own problems never say, that's not my job. They say, this is my moment. And when you take that kind of ownership, you move different. You stop waiting for leadership. You become leadership. You stop asking for clarity. You will create clarity. Most people or someone else will figure it out. But when you start walking in full ownership, you realize you are that someone. You're not just part of the team. You're the standard setter. He ain't coming your engine. You're the thermostat, not the thermometer. You don't judge the temperature. Second, relentless energy. This is where most people fall off. They start strong. They don't finish. They get hyped about the opportunity, but they don't have the discipline to follow through when it gets boring, when it gets repetitive, when the excitement dies and all that's left is work. You need an engine inside of you that doesn't quit. You need to be fueled by more than a paycheck or praise. You need to wake up with a reason, a fire, a mission. Relentless energy means you don't clock out when a job isn't finished. You don't disappear when things get tense. You don't back down when obstacles show up. You keep moving. You keep pushing. You keep finding another path, another strategy until the job gets done. Relentless energy is about intensity A and woo endurance. Some of you are intense for 2 days, but by Friday, you got drained. That's not it. The precision doesn't care about your feelings. The deadlines won't wait for you to feel motivated again. So you have to bring your own energy, and you got to bring it daily. Relent doesn't mean reckless. It means you're locked in. You're locked on the target, locked on outcome, and you won't stop until it's in your hands. It's a decision, not a move, not a standard. You're not just trying hard. You're living hard. You show up with excellence every single time, even when it's inconvenient, even when nobody's clapping, even you don't feel appreciated, because you know you're not there to be seen. You're there to solve the problem. Third, vision. You cannot solve big problem with small perspective. You've got to see beyond the noise. You've got to think beyond your desk. You've got to see the ripple effect of what you're doing. Most people are stuck reacting. They only deal with what's right in front of them. But visionaries, real solution makers, they're playing chess while others are stuck on checkers. They're looking 3 moves ahead. They're not just focused on the problem. They're thinking about the pattern that created it. They're not just solving symptoms. They're going after the root. Vision is about context. It's about awareness. It's about understanding how your role connects to the whole. You can't afford to think small when the problem is big. You've got to zoom out and ask bigger questions. What's the outcome we really need? What are the obstacles that keep repeating? What's the system behind the struggle? Vision allows you to lead, not just react. Vision allows you to influence. Now participate. When you have vision, people come to you. Not because you have all the answers, but because you see what others miss. Because you're one who can connect dots. You're the one who can keep calm when others lose it. Come to your school, you was already thought 3 steps ahead while they're still panicking in the moment. That's why most people stay stuck in cycles. They don't take ownership. They don't bring energy. And they don't operate with vision. But when you build those 3 into how you show up, you become unstoppable. You become the person people depend on when it matters most. You don't just solve problems. You set the tone. So the next time a big problem shows up at desk, don't shrink. Don't panic. Don't complain. That moment right there, that pressure dials fire. That's the test. That's where the real ones are revealed. And you can perform when it's smooth. Anybody execute when the calendar's clean, the team's aligned, and the weather's nice. But that's not where greatness is made. Great in the trenches. It's made in the middle of a mess. It's built when the plan falls apart. And you've still got to deliver. That's where leaders are born. The mistake most people make is thinking the pressure means something's gone wrong. They act like problems are interruptions to the work. But problems are the work. That's the job. You don't get it for avoiding fire. You get promoted for walking through it. You don't grow by skipping the struggle. You grow by engaging it, pushing through it, grinding with it till you come out on the other side better, stronger. You don't build strength in comfort. You build it under load. When you shrink in the face of problems, you rob yourself of progress. You cut yourself off from the opportunity to expand. Every problem is a signal that something needs to evolve. Maybe it's the system, maybe it's the process, maybe it's the yuck. Maybe it's your thinking, your attitude. Big problems expose weak frameworks. They shine a light on what's not working. If you got the courage to face that, you can fix it, rebuild it, and take it to a whole new level. But it takes mental toughness. You can't show up to work every day emotional, reactive, distracted. You've got to walk in focus. You've got to carry purpose in your posture. You've got to make decisions based on your mission, not your feelings. This is grown-up work. This is championship level thinking. You're not just managing tasks. You're carrying culture. And culture starts with how you respond to the hard stuff. The people who move the needle aren't the loudest. They're the most locked in. They don't just show up to their job. They show up to make impact. They don't waste time gossiping, blaming, scrolling. They're dialed in. They see the problem and they Google. They make phone calls. They rewrite plan. They stay in the lab until something clicks. They aren't afraid of breaking something because that innovation, it doesn't from safety. It comes from boldness, from urgency, from someone deciding that enough is enough. And let's be real, every time a big problem shows up, you have a choice. Shrink or stretch, retreat or rise. You either repeat the cycle or you raise your standard. That choice is yours every time. And no one can make it for you. And the problem doesn't care what you choose, but your future will. Your team will. Your reputation will. Every decision you make under pressure leaves a footprint. It tells people who you are. So you've got to be the one who steps into that pressure with purpose. You've got to become the person who sees a wall and figures out how to climb it. So you ain't go around it. You can't afford perfect wait till it created the moment. You've got to bring the energy that turns confusion into clarity. That flips setbacks in your strategy. That takes a broken process and builds something better from the rubble. This isn't about being genius. It's about being hungry. It's about caring enough to show up with your full self, about giving more than what's expected, about refusing to coast. If there's a gap, you fill it. If something's unclear, you make it clear. If something's broken, you take personal responsibility to fix it. Even if it wasn't your fault, that's ownership. That's leadership. That's how you go from being part of the problem to becoming the solution. It's easy to complain. It's easy to join the crowd and say, that's just how things are here. Blend in. You were built to build up. The problems you face are proof that there's still something inside you that needs to be activated. The friction isn't against you. It's sharpening you. It's stretching you, pulling out the version of you that only pressure can produce. When problems come, Let everybody else look around confused. You already know what time it is. It's your time to step up, not because someone told you to, not because it's your role, but because it's you who you are. Because solving problems isn't just something you live. It's the mark you leave behind. It's the reason they call your name when things go sideways. Because they know when it's time to face fire, you show up different. So the next time a big problem shows up at desk, don't shrink. Don't panic. Don't complain. That moment right there, that pressure down, fire, that's the test. That's where the real ones are revealed. And you can perform when it's smooth. Anybody execute when the calendar's clean, the team's aligned, and the weather's nice. But that's not where greatness is made. Great in the trenches. It's made in the middle of a mess. It's built when the plan falls apart. And you've still got to deliver. That's where leaders are born. The mistake most people make is thinking the pressure means something's gone wrong. They act like problems are interruptions to the work. But problems are the work. That's the job. You don't get it for avoiding fire. You get promoted for walking through it. You don't grow by skipping the struggle. You grow by engaging it, pushing through it, grinding with it till you come out on the other side better, stronger. You don't build strength in comfort. You build it under load. When you shrink in the face of problems, you rob yourself of progress. You cut yourself off from the opportunity to expand. Every problem is a signal that something needs to evolve. Maybe it's the system, maybe it's the process, maybe it's the yeah. Maybe it's your thinking, your attitude. Big problems expose weak frameworks. They shine a light on what's not working. If you got the courage to face that, you can fix it, rebuild it, and take it to a whole new level. But it takes mental toughness. You can't show up to work every day emotional, reactive, distracted. You've got to walk in focus. You've got to carry purpose in your posture. You've got to make decisions based on your mission, not your feelings. This is grown-up work. This is championship level thinking. You're not just managing tasks. You're carrying culture. And culture starts with how you respond to the hard stuff. The people who move the needle aren't the loudest. They're the most locked in. They don't just show up to their job. They show up to make impact. They don't waste time gossiping, blaming, scrolling. They're dialed in. They see the problem and they Google. They make phone calls. They rewrite plan. They stay in the lab until something clicks. They aren't afraid of breaking something because stand that innovation, it doesn't from safety. It comes from boldness, from urgency, from someone deciding that enough is enough. And let's be real, every time a big problem shows up, you have a choice. Shrink or stretch, retreat or rise. You either repeat the cycle or you raise your standard. That choice is yours every time. And no one can make it for you. And the problem doesn't care what you choose, but your future will. Your team will. Your reputation will. Every decision you make under pressure leaves a footprint. It tells people who you are. So you've got to be the one who steps into that pressure with purpose. You've got to become the person who sees a wall and figures out how to climb it. So you ain't go around it. You can't afford perfect wait till it created the moment. You've got to bring the energy that turns confusion into clarity. That flips setbacks in your strategy. That takes a broken process and builds something better from the rubble. This isn't about being genius. It's about being hungry. It's about caring enough to show up with your full self, about giving more than what's expected, about refusing to coast. If there's a gap, you fill it. If something's unclear, you make it clear. If something's broken, you take personal responsibility to fix it. Even if it wasn't your fault, that's ownership. That's leadership. That's how you go from being part of the problem to becoming the solution. It's easy to complain. It's easy to join the crowd and say, that's just how things are here. Blend in. You were built to build up. The problems you face are proof that there's still something inside you that needs to be activated. The friction isn't against you. It's sharpening you. It's stretching you, pulling out the version of you that only pressure can produce. When problems come, let everybody else look around confused. You already know what time it is. It's your time to step up, not because someone told you to, not because it's your role, but because it's you who you are. Because Solving problems isn't just something you live. It's the mark you leave behind. It's the reason they call your name when things go sideways. Because they know when it's time to face fire, you show up different. Because then big problems are the enemy. They're the test. And you are the answer. That's what it comes down to. Every time something breaks at work, every time there's tension in the team, every time leadership is scrambling or client is frustrated or the numbers don't add up, that's not the time to run and hide. That's the time to lean in. That's the moment that separates talkers from doers. That's where it becomes clear who's built for pressure and who just looks good on paper. The problem isn't the issue on your desk and come to your school. The problem is whether you can handle it. Because if you don't believe your answer, you'll never act like it. You'll keep deflecting. You'll keep stalling. You'll keep waiting for someone more experienced, senior to step in. But what you don't understand is that you were placed in that position for a reason. That Charles didn't come to you by accident. It came because something that matches beside you, something that needs to rise, something that needs to be caught up and activated. When big problems show up, they don't just test your skills. They ain't your belief. They test your identity. They ask you, do you really think you're for the next level? Because everybody wants to go up until the cost shows up. Everybody says they want to influence the title, the next role, but they forget that always comes with pressure. You don't get promoted for solving small things. You get promoted for carrying what others avoid. You get promoted for making sense out of mess, for being the calm in the chaos, from the person who delivers results when most people deliver excuses. You have to get to the point where you don't just tolerate problems. You expect them. You anticipate them. You know they're coming, and you prepare your mindset accordingly. You don't panic when something breaks. You go into solution mode. You don't get offended by conflict. You see it as data. You don't complain about hard seasons. You train for them because the one who's prepared doesn't fear the fight. They welcome it. They know it's part of the process. That's how legacy is built. One problem at a time. You can't keep playing small and expecting big outcomes. You can't keep hiding comfort and thinking excellence will find you. Excellence lives in the deep water. It lives where the current is strong. It lives where most people drown. But you aren't most people. You're not ordinary. You've got a different gear. You got something inside that doesn't back down just because inconvenient. You've got to remind yourself every day. You are an answer, not a piece of the ants, not a temporary fix. The full means you walk into work with purpose, not just to clock in, not just to meet expectations. You show up to shift the atmosphere, to create impact, to make things better than found them. That means when you see a gap, you don't walk past it, you fill it. When you hear confusion, you speak clarity. When something breaks, you don't look for who to blame. You know how to fix it. That's what answer people do. They're not concerned about looking good. They're focused on doing good. And don't get you twisted. Being the answer doesn't you always know what to do. It means you're willing to figure it out. It means you're willing to ask questions, willing to research, willing to admit what you don't get the knowledge, willing to fail fast, adjust quick, and move again. Being the answer means you stay flexible, but never passive. You bend, but you don't break. You learn, but you don't retreat. There's a different level of presence that comes when you carry that belief. People notice it. They can feel it in the room when you speak. It's not arrogance. It's conviction. It's that internal confidence that says, no matter what this looks like, I'm going to find a way because you've built your mind for the challenge. You've conditioned your spirit for the storm. You've trained for this moment. And when it shows up, you don't get ready. You are ready. You got to become the person who doesn't just work in the organization. You carry it. The one who doesn't just survive under pressure. You thrive in it. You got to decide from this point forward, every challenge you face will not be the thing that stops you, but the thing that builds you. Because you weren't sent to the situation by accident. You were sent because you are the solution. You are the answer. You're not at that job by accident. You're not facing that problem by coincidence. You've been chosen for that moment. That challenge didn't land on your desk because it was random. It landed there because something inside you was ready to grow. Something in you was ready to be called out. You think it's just another difficult client, another broken system, but another week of drama on your team. But it's not just work, it's preparation. It's pressure with a purpose. Most people miss the moment because it doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It comes wrapped in frustration. It shows up disguised as inconvenience. And when they see it, they back away. They say things like, why is this happening to me? But the focused ones, the called ones, they flip that mindset. They stop asking, why me? And start asking, what now? They don't see the problem as punishment. They see it as a portal, a doorway to the next version of themselves. Every level comes with its own kind of resistance. Every next chapter requires something in the last version you didn't have. So when you're uncomfortable at work, when things feel heavier, when the pressure starts increasing, you've got to understand that means the next level is near. The tension is not a sign to quit. It's a sign to stretch. It's a sign to upgrade your thinking, your habits, your communication, your focus. You were chosen because the way work anymore. The old habit, the old systems, the old processes, they can't carry the weight of what's next. And somebody's got to step up. Somebody's got to be the one who doesn't wait to be asked. Somebody's got to be the one who doesn't need recognition to move. And somebody's got to be the one who sees the dispersed building structure. And that somebody is you. Choosing doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It means you're built to handle what others avoid. It means you've got something in your spirit. Doesn't need everything to be perfect in order to be powerful. You can show up in chaos and still bring clarity. You can be surrounded by confusion and still stay focused. You can hear the doubt in the room and still speak with certainty. Because chosen people don't. Because if you fight through it, if you stay consistent, if you keep showing up when others check out, you will rise. Not maybe, not someday, not if the stars align. You will, but only if you keep fighting through. The key word here is consistency, not talent, not hype, not flashes of greatness. It's the quiet, repetitive discipline of showing up when it's uncomfortable, the grind that nobody sees, the effort doesn't get clapped for, the decisions you make when nobody's watching. That's where the rise begins. Everybody wants to rise until they see what the process looks like. They want the elevation, but they don't want the repetition. They want to shine, but they don't want the shadow. They want the win, but they don't want the weight. You can't be your industry if you fold every time it gets hard. You can't be a go-to person on your team if your effort fluctuates with your emotions. The ones who rise are who train themselves to keep going even when it feels pointless, even when it feels like no one's noticing, even when the results haven't shown up yet. There's a difference between activity. A lot of people are busy, but they're not consistent. They work in spurts. They show up with intensity one day and disappear the next. But consistent people show up the same way as Monday morning or Friday evening, whether boss is watching or not, whether the outcome is guaranteed or not. They keep showing up because they've locked into a bigger reason why you think the winners are the most gifted. You think they got luck to look closer. But winners are the ones who made a decision not to disappear. When the problems came, they didn't vanish. When the team started doubting, they didn't join in the gossip. When the pressure bill didn't fold, they focused. They weren't moved by the noise. They were anchored by their mission, anchored by purpose. And that's why they rose. Some of you are praying for elevation, but you're not proving you can handle foundation. You want the corner office. You won't even master current one. You want leadership, but you can't even lead your own schedule. You want the respect, but you haven't earned the consistency. The world doesn't reward effort. It rewards results. And results only come through discipline, execution, through showing up again, and doing it right every time, even when you're tired, even when you don't feel like it. You got to stop being seasonal with your excellence. Stop being emotional with your output. Discipline means you do what's required, man. When the feelings are, it means your mindset overrides your mood. It means your purpose has more weight than your problems. That's what separates the level players from everybody else. It's not about how hard you work one day. It's about whether you keep grinding when the inspiration disappears. The truth is, the people who rise are ones who refuse to stay stuck. They feel a resistance, but they don't run from it. They lean in. They embrace the tension. They understand that growth doesn't come from zone. It comes in a stretch. They keep moving, not because it's easy, because stopping isn't even an option. Coming to your school, they committed the process so fully that would feel like betrayal. And here's the part Marty tells you. Consistency is not just about output, it's about attitude. You've got to consistently bring the energy, consistently bring the standard, consistently bring the solutions. You can't sharp one week and sloppy the next. You can't be engaging on Monday and checked out on Thursday. You got to be locked in. Every monthly meeting, every task is a chance to show your value, a chance to demonstrate your dependability, a chance to prove that you're not just hype, you're real. And when you start showing up like that, when your actions match your ambition, everything around you start shifting. People start noticing. Opportunities start coming. Doors start opening. Not because of luck, because of consistency. Because you didn't just show promise. You showed proof. And that's what creates trust. That's what builds momentum. That's what takes you from overlooked to undeniable. You want to change the game at work. Stop trying to do everything yourself and start learning how to build real relationships. That's the secret nobody talks about. You think solving big problems is about being the smartest person in the room. It's not. It's about alignment. It's about collaboration. It's about knowing how to connect with people, communicate with people, leaving the difficult ones. Because you can't fix big problems with a solo mindset. You fix big problems by moving as a unit, as a force, as a team that knows how to push together when the pressure's high. Some of you are talented, but you're stuck because your ego's in the way. You don't ask for help. You don't share information. You don't empower others. You think if you would all yourself, people will respect you more. That's not strength. That's insecurity. Real strength is knowing how to pull the best out of people. It's knowing how to step back when necessary, delegate when appropriate, and listen when the solution isn't coming from your mouth, but someone else's. That's maturity. That's wisdom. That's leadership. The reason some teams, because people are working against each other instead of with each other. Too much competition. Too many hidden agendas. Too much drama and not unity. And a big problem hits, that kind of culture crumbles. But when you build trust, when people know they're respected, when the environment is safe for ideas, then innovation flows, then they'll raise their hand, contribute, then people go the extra mile because they feel seen. You can have all the systems, all the software, all the KPIs, but if your people, your progress will collapse. Because when the pressure rises, the system doesn't hold the line. The people do. And if those people don't trust each other, they'll break under weight under the retreat. They'll protect themselves. But when trust is present, people lean in, they sacrifice, they speak up, they take ownership, not just for their work, but for each other. And that's what it really means to be a leader. A leader doesn't solve the problem alone. A leader builds the environment where problems get solved. That means you set the tone, you set the mice, you mindset. You show people how to disagree without being respectful. You create a space where people feel empowered to bring their full self to the table. And you don't tolerate negativity or may just talk excellence. You live it. Some of you are waiting for the company culture to shift from the top. But what if it starts with you? What if you're one who brings clarity to confusion? What if you're one who diffuses tension instead of feeding it? What if you're the one who encourages others, even when you're exhausted your shift? Not real with titles, the kind that changes rooms, that lifts morale, that leads with presence, not position. You got to understand, every bit won't require people. No one builds legacy alone. No one solves million-dollar problems by themselves. That kind of work requires alignment. It requires trust. It requires humility to listening. It requires taking the time to understand perspectives different from your own. And if you can't do that, you always hit a ceiling because your ability to collaborate means the size of the problems you can solve. You don't need to be liked by everyone, but you do need to be respected. And respect doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being consistent. It comes from showing up with integrity, from honoring your word, from admitting when you're wrong, from staying teachable, even when you're experienced, from not letting your emotions drive your behavior. That's what earns respect. And when people respect you, they'll follow you, even through the fire. The highest performing teams are the most talent. They're the ones with the most trust, the ones who communicate, who take responsibility, the ones who don't hide behind blame, the ones who tell when it's hard, even ones who bring solutions instead of sarcasm, the ones who choose alignment over ego. That's how problems get solved. Not with pressure, but with people power. If you're going to hire in your organization, start there, build trust, build relationships. Be the person others can count on when things go sideways. Be the glue when the team starts cracking. Be the calm in the storm. Be the one who makes better, not bitter. Because when people feel safe around you, they give you access. And access is what gives you influence.